Chapter 7. Grayle. When Amy closed her eyes, I dressed for bed. I waited for her, because my sleep time had been set by that little child sleeping peacefully. Thank goodness she'd passed through that stage, and now she was sleeping through the night. Thank goodness for Scott, I whispered as I stood over her bassinet. I had to hand it to him. He knew what to feed her that wouldn't hurt her stomach, and keep her from waking up throughout the night. I will finally get some sleep, I thought. Looking down at her, I realized that she had grown so much, and soon she'd be walking, and that would be a new set of problems. I had to get the old house baby-proofed. But before then, she'd need something larger to sleep in. Then the bell rang, and I puttered to the front door and opened it to see Cade, practically falling into my living room. I caught him. "How did you get here? You look like you were too tired to drive, baby." Cade laid his head on my chest, and I wrapped my arms around him and whisked him up into my arms, where he nestled his nose against my chest. I felt the warmth of his breath when he sighed in relief. Heading for my bedroom, I laid him in the bed and undressed him and placed Cade under the covers. Sitting at his side, I raked my fingers through his hair and I voiced my concerns. "What's wrong, baby? You're to the point of physical exhaustion." I'd known that working day and night 7 days a week would take a toll on your body, even if you were strong, but Cade looked delicate and had taken on more than he physically was able to. I knew he visited the gym, but not as often as he should, and now I doubted that he had done anything except get up early and work late in the storeroom and all the other things involved with a successful business. His eyes half-lidded, he managed to look up. "Just work." I glanced over at my clock, and it was after 1 a.m. He turned over and feebly reached for a pillow, and I climbed in beside him and held him from the back. "Can I get you something to eat?" I was just about to fix something for myself. I wouldn't dare eat a sandwich with Amy in the other room. I'd probably never wake, but Cade felt as if he'd missed a few meals. His slim waist appeared to have shrunk. I eased back to climb out of bed, expecting to go to the kitchen. "No. Don't go. I sleep better when you're near me," he said, holding onto my arm. "So do I. But I don't want to sleep too soundly because Amy might wake, and I wouldn't be able to hear her. Why don't you bring her in the room, and then when she wakes, one of us can rock her back to sleep?" I glanced over at the rocker in my bedroom near the fireplace, and wondered why I hadn't thought of that. Oh, I remembered. Her bedroom was between mine and Austin's in hopes that when it was time for her bottle, that he'd help out with the nighttime feeding, and let me rest for a minute or two because I had work in my office that had deadlines, and I visited my father every other day, but that had never happened. I left Cade to transfer Amy into the bedroom with us. To my surprise, she didn't wake when I laid her on the bed, and hurried to get her bassinet, and then laid her in it. After I managed that maneuver, I hopped in behind Cade, wrapped my arms around him, and he placed his hand over my arm, giving out a warm, loving sigh. I nuzzled my nose against his fine hair, and even though he smelled of coffee, he did smell of fresh vanilla-scented soap or ice cream with coffee mixed in. With Cade's soothing smell in my senses, I held him tightly in my arms, and went off into a deep sleep. When I woke, Cade had found one of my robes, and he was sitting there, holding a warm bottle, with Amy's little fingers wrapped tightly around one of his fingers as she sucked on the bottle. Tears came to my eyes because in all that time I'd never seen such a warm and wonderful sight. "I think I heard your phone ring," Cade gestured to the phone on the nightstand. "I have to take this," I said, picking it up and trotting into the next room for privacy. It was my secretary. "Mr. Meadows, you have to go to New Jersey." "When?" "We have you booked today at 6 p.m. Your hotel is for 1 night, and after you talk to the owners of this shipping company and get them to sign off on the contracts I'm sending you, then you can get on the plane anytime and be back before dark." "Can't someone else do that?" Everyone knew from the beginning that I have a small child, and it would be impossible for me to be away on the spur of the moment's notice. "I tried calling your boss, but he's on vacation, and you're the only one we can find. There's no one else but you." I knew I had to go, but that was the final proverbial drop of the shoe. I had to give up this job and take care of my baby and my father, and it looked like Cade needed taking care of as well. I didn't want Austin over here again, but now I'd been forced to ask him to relieve Scott. I'd been asking too much of Scott lately and not enough of Austin. He'd gotten away with child support. I hit Austin's number. "Austin, I need you." "Well, you finally admitted it, and?" "Before you get your cock wet with anticipation, it's not what you think. All I want from you is for you to relieve Scott tonight." "I can't do that because Zack needs my attention." "Your daughter needs your attention. I can't remember the last time you were here. Who is more important, our little girl, or that narcissistic, unfeeling bore you're sleeping with?" "You shouldn't talk about Zack like that. He's not what you say he is. He's loving and we're thinking of getting married. You said that was the only way I could have Amy visit with me, was to marry him, and we're getting a new house. I think Zack deserves it." "What about child support?" "The only thing Zack deserves is to be dumped, and I'm not talking about dumping him as in leaving him, but the kind where you can't find him," I emphasized. "What happened to you, Gray? I don't recognize you." The only thing that had happened to me was to get mixed up with Austin and have a case of bad judgment. Drinking and drugs will do that to you, I thought. Everything had appeared great when I was under the influence and I'd first met Austin. The sex was great, Austin was great, and then I became sober when I had the responsibility of seeing to my father, and I could see from under the haze I'd cloaked myself in, and the truth of who I'd fallen for became clear. "That makes two of us. I can barely recognize you," I barked, and I hit the red button and wished I'd never seen Austin. "Here, take this," Cade said, handing me a mug with "Cade loves Gray" and filled with his specialty coffee I'd bought to remind me of him. "I didn't see you pass and go into the kitchen," I reported. "I heard the conversation between you and Austin." Cade gave me his hand and I rose from the chair and followed him into the kitchen. "I thought you'd feel better with this coffee. I see you like it too." Cade poured himself a cup and sat beside me on the bar stools. "I can talk to Scott and Lane." Scott would be willing to stay until Lane and I close up, and then Lane and I come over and take turns with Amy. "Go to your meeting and come back to me, and I'll be here waiting for you," he said. For the first time lately, I felt at peace, and I knew what love was about with someone besides my parents. Cade leaned over and drew me in for a kiss. I liked the way we traded roles when one of us was down and depressed. Today was my day of needing a hug and a kiss from the man I loved. I should pack now and see my father before I leave. Scott should be here in a few. He's never late, and speaking of late, you need to get to your shop. I don't feel like it this morning. I want to stay here with you and Amy. I want you to, but you can't just when it's going well for you. I've made up my mind to stop working for a while. Too many responsibilities. I can always do something else, and money isn't a problem. I need this time to spend with my baby and my favorite men. You and my father. I want to plan a weekend where we have his friends over. It's in July. That should be great because I'm planning on hiring extra people to work, and as soon as Brian is back from searching for the man that got away, I can get some time off. Do you think you would want to marry me? Marry you? I've wanted to marry you from the first day I saw you in the ice cream shop. Do you remember? Before you walked out, I had to run after you because you paid with a large bill and didn't get your change. I said I wanted to date you, and you said to check with you when I had grown hair on my balls. Well, you didn't say that, but that was what you meant. Let's say that I'd been around. I knew you were younger than you pretended. I know. The way you made love to me in my office left no doubts in my mind, and if you want to experiment, then let's say that I'm open, especially on our honeymoon, which means I want to marry you anytime. Just tell me when, he said with a warm kiss. I'll have it all worked out when I get back from Jersey.